I've been in the record business for over 40 years. I've been involved with records such as Babyface, Whitney Houston, Boyz II Men, As Yet, Prince, Michael Jackson. So I've been involved with over, I said 150, but it's over 300 million records as either a producer, songwriter,
Right.
So that's
who you
my
are.
life.
So Keith has a super extensive resume that he just gave you like a glimpse of. You can Google Keith and you can figure out everything that you need to figure out about Keith. One of the things that was just displayed so beautifully with that song is like you first of all wrote, recorded, mixed, mastered top to bottom.
Yes. I co-wrote it with Ricky Jones. Ricky Jones and I wrote that together.
But
yes.
everything else on the technical side is just, you are a creative genius, and you're you have such a good understanding of the way music works. Like we're talking about music theory and all of that kind of stuff and the technicality of it, and you just make really full music. Like there's no stone like left unturned, and it's just so beautiful. And I'm so excited to talk about your most recent album, A New Beginning. How long before we really delve into that? I want to talk a little bit more about you as a person and get a little bit more out of you. How long have you been writing your own music? So I know that we talked about you working on other people's records. I want to talk a little bit about the transition from being that producer and being, how we talked about earlier, kind of that person in the shadows, to actually kind of viewing yourself as someone who is the artist and writing music for yourself.
That transition happened during the pandemic.
Okay.
As you know, nothing was going on.
Right.
And so I was doing music for TV, for Universal Resorts International and other things. So those commercials that you see, I'm doing the music for. Everything just died. And I said, and I had friends, brothers, and they say, "Yo, Keith, you need to put your own. You should do you," because I was singing my own demos and stuff like that. But I never saw myself as an artist. And because I have so much respect for really great artists.
Right.
So I'm just going, I'm not that. I can't do that. And it was my brother Darren. He said, "Hey, man, you need to put your own music out." And I said, So I took this song, My Brother, which was the first single I released. And I can tell you today, it was June 28th, 2020.
Coming up. It's almost.
That's the first single I put out, My Brother. And it was a song I wrote about my brother Darren. And I put that out, and then it was overwhelming, the response.
Right.
And I didn't expect that. And I remember I always tell this story. There was a young man, you might know him, but I'm not going to mention his name. I'm sorry. Can you hear me better now? I apologize. That when I put the song out, and he came in the studio, he said, "Yeah, I heard the song, but it ain't really my thing, blah, blah, blah." And I said, "No problem. I'm not offended by it." I said, "I'll see you in 10 years. And he didn't know what that meant. About 3 to 4 months later, that same young man called me. He was on the phone in tears, crying. And I said, "What's wrong, man? You okay?" He said, "Man, that song, My Brother." He said, "Me and my brother were having issues. And I sent that song to him.
Right.
And we both cried on the phone. Thank you for that song." And I laughed. I said, "You're 9.5 years early."
Right.
But I always say, I always tell people, I'm about giving people music that they need, but they just don't know they need it yet. And a lot of people I see, they chase trends.
Right.
And I understand it, but I'm not going to do that.
Right.
I'm going to be true and unique to who I am. And I'm going to make the music, the kind of music that makes you feel and makes you think and it makes you want to dance and moan and think about different things.
Right.
That's what I'm into. If you're not into it, I get it. I understand it. I got no problem.
Okay.
I'm not offended by it. I'm not your taste.
Right.
Yeah. But if that's what you're into, come on and join the party.
So I have 2 follow-up questions with that. One is like a clarification question, because you've been doing music for over 40 years, but what you're explaining in the first part of that is you being an artist is actually a more recent thing for you. This only happened a couple years ago.
Yes.
So I just wanted to make that known because it's never too late to start that process. And I think that like, that's just when I first learned of your story, it was so inspiring to me. And I feel like that people just need to like know, like, who
everybody
you are.
says that.
And that fact, because it's really awe-inspiring. The other thing that I wanted to kind of ask you about moving forward with that is you talked about like the music that moves you and the type of music that you want to make and not following trends. Is that something that you have been consistent with throughout your career? So like career. Even as a session player, that was something important to you going into those.
I got hired by big producers to play on major records because I had that mindset. They said, you bring another thing to the table. We want what you do.
Right.
So I said, okay, then what I do is valuable. And when I hear my ideas and being played and selling millions of records, I say, okay, my ideas work.
Right.
You know, they work. So when somebody comes to me and tell me, oh, you need to do this. No, I don't, because I've done that. I've sold 200 million records
and it was
doing
good,
that.
Right.
And it worked. So, you know, and that doesn't, I'm not saying that from an ego perspective.
Right.
Just from a confidence perspective.
Knowing who you are and what your worth is and what.
And I'm also, if I see a bunch of people going down that road, I'm going to go this way. Because that road is crowded. Everybody's already doing that. They don't need another trap record from me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But I'm influenced by trap.
Right.
I respect it and love it.
Right.
And I may put hints and flavors of that in songs.
And inspiration.
Like a song on my album called Better Together. I was inspired by a trap beat. So I created my own vibe and just put a song on top of it, arrangements. But I'm still getting that itch. I'm scratching that itch.
Right.
But I'm not chasing them. So I was inspired.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that that's so valuable because I think that so many, not just musicians, but just people in general are in that place right now where following the trend and following what other people are doing or making seem like is the best or the easiest thing, it can be comforting to be around people, you know what I'm saying? But longevity and authenticity really does always kind of reign supreme.
And I tell you, a lot of it came in my time. I sound like an old guy, but in when I was doing sessions, and you're talking about, I started doing sessions in '79, and so throughout all of that, the producers would come into the studio. They didn't want to sound like anything else. If you did something, they go, "Oh, somebody's already doing that. We don't want to do that."
Right.
It was their thing to be different.
Right.
They didn't want to sound like somebody else. They wanted to craft their own lane, and that's why there was so much different kinds of music during that time. So you knew what Prince sounded like. You knew what Michael sounded like. You knew what this one sounded like. They had their own lane.
Right.
And I loved that.
Right.
You know, so.
Beautiful. So let's get into actually talking a little bit about this project. Okay, so what is the purpose or the narrative of this project in terms of where you're at in your career and what it means for you?
Because this is my first album, and if on my album cover, it's a 5-year-old Keith that I was just beginning. I was in first grade, so that was the new beginning in my education career.
Right.
Well, 60 years later, I'm putting out my first album, so it's a new beginning. I'm going down. I don't know this is new to me. I've never been an artist. Never wanted to be one. You know, I always been behind the scenes. No one's ever seen me. Now, I enjoyed the anonymity. Right. So I was nervous about doing this because I was like, I'm out front. I don't want to be out front like that. But I'm being more and more comfortable. And the reason I'm more comfortable is because I'm being who I am. Right. I'm not trying to be the young 23-year-old. I'm a 65-year-old dude. So I'm proud of it. Right. I'm proud of it. And I tell all my contemporaries who are that age, I'm like, put your music out. Because they're too busy worried about, well, it's a new thing, then nobody's going to like it. Man, you don't know that. Right. And now I'm getting those calls from guys, yo, dude, thank you, man. Now I'm going, good. Right. Put it out. We all need to hear that. Hear it. And if you believe it or not, young people want to hear it too. Yep.
Sure do. Yeah, because nostalgia is so real. And I think that that's one of the things that I really love about this project. And we can talk a little bit about that later. I want to ask a couple of other questions. Mm-hmm. So, first of all, how long did this project take to complete? Because you have, first of all, it's a full album. So you got quite a few songs on there. And just going back to the fact that, like, you are a producer, an engineer, a songwriter, you know, this is a labor of love.
Yes.
So how long did this take?
I would always say it took a lifetime. So it took a lifetime to make. But I would say there are songs that I had, like All Night. Mm-hmm. I wrote that song a while ago.
Right.
But I just
left it in the vault.
Left it in the vault. Mm-hmm. And I went, the world needs to hear this song. Pulled it out.
Right.
Did some things, put my voice in that. That song was written originally for As Yet. And if you listen, that's As Yet singing background.
Oh.
Yeah, me, myself, As Yet, and Ricky Jones. And Ricky Jones and I wrote that. And I wrote that song originally for As Yet as the follow-up for Last Night, which I wrote.
Right.
And then it was on DreamWorks. They would move from LaFace to DreamWorks. They got dropped, and that song just sat. Mm-hmm. And I forgot all about it. And so when I began to, you know, look and I'll go, this is a great song.
Right.
I want to do this song. And so I redid some stuff and put my voice on it. And then I began, what's the hole in the marketplace? I started looking in the marketplace.
Right.
What are we missing? What topics are we not talking about? So I says, I hear more topics about I'm going to steal your man and this, that, and the other and screw you. And blah. And I went, I don't want to talk about that.
Mm-hmm. I don't think it would make sense for you to talk
about. I don't want to add to that. There's enough of that out there. Let's talk about, I want love, peace, and joy. So I said, let me write a song about love, peace, and joy. We're better together. With so many people talking about, well, I want to break up, but you ain't no, and I'm going, hey, man, why don't we work this thing out? Because we're better together.
Right.
I want to talk about these kinds of things. You know? How to Love Me is a song that I had that song for a while. And I wrote that song years ago. Just left it in the shelf. Right. And it was Alex Day that sang the demo. Right? And I said, this song needs to come. So I called Alex. I said, Alex, I'm going to put that song out. What song? Because you forgot all about it.
Right.
And I wrote it. I said, and I just redid some music, added some things, and just put my backgrounds on it, put it out. I want to show you how to love me.
Right. So it seems like this project for you is an amalgamation of music that you, like you said, all of this is things that people need to hear, and things that you're not seeing. So these statements and these impactful themes of what you want for not only your audience, but it's kind of the world to hear,
right,
and to listen to, and for that be in love and peace and joy, which is absolutely what we need. So
and so I want the narrative. The world is you can't cuss on here, can you?
We can cuss.
Oh yeah, it's going to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah,
and everything that I listen to is just negative. But I understand it. I get it. But I went, but I don't want to add to that.
Right.
There's got to be something. We got to talk about something else. And that's what I always tell writers. You know, I remember we did the lounge. And I asked a bunch of writers, you know, people would come up and play songs.
Right.
And every song, I'm going to shoot a nigga. I'm going to kill a nigga. I'm going to fuck a bitch. And I'm going to, you know, excuse my language, everybody. And so that's what I was saying. And so finally, the last person was doing it, and I stopped it in the middle of it. And there was a room full of people. I said, y'all ain't got nothing else to talk about? Is that all y'all got to talk about? And I went around the room, and I asked, where are you from? Well, I'm from South Carolina. What do y'all do in South Carolina?
Right.
What's the favorite restaurant in South Carolina? Tell me about your area. I say, write about that.
Right.
There's so many things for us to write about.
Half of them have probably never shot a gun ever in their life, which is the other piece of that. But
yeah. So, and I'm not. I don't want anybody to think that I'm shitting on people because I'm not. I just want to say to people, expand your thinking. there's so much more to talk about.
Absolutely. And I feel like it's not, because people are always going to find something to be upset about, you know what I'm saying? And something to pick at and point at. But
Okay, and what's the solution?
So that's what I'm saying, is that, like, the solution is having these conversations, because the problem is, in my opinion, that first of all, we have a lot of artists that are not true artists. There's a lot of artists that are chasing the fame and the things that surround the being an artist, and not actually what it means to, like, love music and all of that kind of stuff. And those people are going to go, of course, with the trend and what's trending and what's going to help them pop off and do this and that. So when you're in that mindset, and the majority of people, at least that you are seeing be successful, are talking about these things, you're going to go down that rabbit hole. So we need people to say, like, hey, no, you actually don't have to do that. Right. You don't have to do that. You can talk about something else, and there are going to still be people. There's still room for you, and there's still an audience for you. And that's not to say that, like you said, those things are bad, or that you're shitting on or doing anything, because that stuff all has its place. Right. It's just about trying to encourage people to, we need more artist development is really the end of. We need people who are developing new sounds and talking about different things and pushing the boundaries and experimenting. And so we need people to know that they can do that.
Right.
You know? So
Absolutely.
I'm here with you for it. You talked a little bit about a couple of different collaborators. Talk to us more about that and what that process is like for you, and what it has been like for this project specifically.
I'm going to talk about my partner, Ricky Jones.
Please, yes.
And if you know, he had just had his album out, which I was executive producer on his album. And he's like family to me. He's like a brother. And I met Ricky Jones over 30 years ago. Wow. And he had a group, yours truly, and our producer, and we've written songs for After 7. We've written songs for a whole bunch of people. And he's my songwriting partner. And we're actually working on his new record right now.
Awesome.
And but he's one that we just fit like a glove. Right. We write songs together. Who else did I write with? He's the only one I wrote with.
That you really wrote with on this project?
Oh, what used to be. I wrote with a longtime songwriting friend of mine, Tim Harris.
Okay.
We grew up in the projects together back in Ravenswood. We're talking about years ago. And he's a great lyricist. And that was a song that I had. I wrote that song in Atlanta, and I just kept it.
Right.
You know, and I knew it was a special song, and I said, sometimes everything that you write doesn't need to come out right now. Sometimes you just have to sit and let it season.
Yeah.
And there's a time for it. And I felt this was the time to pull that song out. You know, and so those were the only co-writers on the album, and then I wrote the other songs by myself.
Wow. Just to cement and just that's just so amazing to me. And we're in a space now where more and more artists are learning how to be producers and how to be engineers, but for it to be at the caliber and the level that you perform and execute at, like, I marvel at it, because I, like, can't understand it. And I think it's just so amazing that you can bring something like that from top to bottom out of your brain. Like, I think that shit is so cool. Yeah, so we talked a little bit outside about melodies, and I wanted to bring that conversation up again. The thing that I personally, as a listener, recognize the most when listening to this album is the melodies just stuck out so much to me, and it just felt like every single song has memorable, and nostalgia is as well a big part of this. Talk to us about the role that plays for you in music and in the creation process.
I came up in a time, I don't think you see it so much now, but I came up in a time I used to do a lot of what we call jingles. And those are, something like, McDonald's, you deserve a break today at McDonald's.
Okay.
So that's a melody.
Right.
So those little jingles, those little melodies, those are things that hook people.
Right.
So I learned from Quincy Jones, melody is king. So I will keep, and I see people rush to a melody, and they just come up with an idea. Okay, that's it.
Right.
And this one of the lessons I learned with writing with Babyface. He's the king of melody. And so I would write a song, we'd be writing a song, and I go, well, we have a great melody. I said, oh, that's it.
Right.
And then he would go, yeah, but let's see if
it could be better.
It could be better. Or well, let's just keep exploring. We got that,
Right.
but can we milk it a little bit more? And so that's what I do. And that's what me and Ricky will do. Where he'll sing a melody, and I'll go, I like that. But what if we said it like this?
Right. And just go back and forth.
Yeah, and that's,
bounce.
or, and same thing with me. Like, Last Time I'm Gonna Cry. The beat section on it, I had something different. And Ricky was on the phone. I was playing it for him, and he started singing something. I went, whoa, 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 whoa.
Hold up. Right.
I like that,
Right.
And so I want, how do I get it? How do I milk that melody? Because that's what people remember. So that's the thing that I stress on that. Yeah,
Right.
Melody is king, man.
Right.
Melody is king.
Beautiful. So we're going to close things out. My last question to you is this. I feel like the way that I kind of interpret this album is almost like a love letter to R&B music.
Yes.
That's really how I see this album. So I just want you to like take a moment to talk a little bit about R&B and like what it means for you, and maybe a little bit about like what you see for the future or what you hope for the future of R&B. Because like I said, I just feel like that is an overarching thing for this.
Is. Thank you. It
Yeah.
is. It really is. I love R&B music, and I want to say this delicately. R&B today, and it's different, and it's okay,
Right.
but I want to hear melodies. I want to hear stories. I want to hear arrangements. I miss that. So for me to get that, I got to go back and listen to records from 10, 20 years ago. And what I'm getting in DMs from people all over the world, thank you.
Right.
I got a new album I can really
that you
just
can-
listen to. Thank you for this record.
Right.
I'm getting from all over the world. And so evidently it was missing. And there are young talent, man, these great writers, really talented guys.
Yep.
Stop chasing.
Right.
Find your lane. Take your time. Don't rush through songs. You don't got to write 20 songs in one day.
Right.
Write one great song a week.
Right.
And so I could write a song and go back and listen to it. I say, that melody could be better, or that line could be a little bit better.
Right.
And I've actually had songs mastered with this album.
And then take it back.
And go, that line I could do better.
Right.
And I'll go back in, do that line, and then remaster it, mix it all over again.
Right.
Because it's that important to me. I don't just say, okay, that's good, let's put it out.
Right.
No, I go through it. I'm listening to it. I'm going
Meticulous,
through it with
right.
a fine tooth comb. Are there any weak moments in the song? Are there any moments dies? It starts people drifting off. No,
Right.
I wanted to be like every time something new is happening, and
Right.
that was
The 30-second rule.
the
right.
30-second rule. Every 30 seconds, something new should be happening.
Right.
A new sound, new this, new that, and it keeps people engaged.
Right.
And that was the role I played, doing so many sessions
Right.
with so many people, different people. That's why I got hired to do a lot of sessions. Because you're great at coming up with parts
Right.
and coming up with ideas and switching
Right.
things around and moving things around. We need you for that.
Right.
So I'm thankful for that.
Beautiful. So with that being said, you guys, that concludes our conversation for today. My heart is so full just because I love you so much and I love having
love
these
you too.
conversations. And I'm so glad that we're going to be able to, put this out for more people to hear and more people to hear your story and your thoughts because they're super, 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 super valuable. With that being said, before we listen to my favorite submissions of this month, let me just let you guys know what, is kind of going on coming up. The next jam session is July 5th. So we're not doing one in June. It is happening July 5th, the day after the 4th of July. And if you don't know what the Dare2Defy jam session is, it is a jam session. It's an open space where we provide cameras, mics, and instruments for musicians to come together and collaborate with each other in real time, get some footage, have some drinks, eat some food, meet some new people. Those are the vibes. And other than that, you can just stay tapped in with us on social media. We're always putting up, just new content in terms of radio, in terms of the events and the musicians who come out to them and perform at them. So yeah, stay up